Every once in a while, you come across an idea that makes you stop and question everything. Not just what you believe, but what you think is real. What if the timeline isn't straight? What if the past, present, future aren't separated the way we've always been told? And what if the mind, your consciousness, is capable of moving beyond the limits of the body? Tonight, we're stepping into those questions because for years, people have reported experiences that don't quite fit into our understanding of reality. Moments of deja vu that feel too real. Out-of-body experiences where people claim they've left their physical form. Encounters in the woods where something watches from the tree line and disappears without a trace. We've heard the stories. Bigfoot sightings where the creatures seem to appear and vanish. UFO encounters where witnesses lose time or can't explain what happened. Shadow figures, apparitions, things that don't behave the way the physical objects should. And then there's the deeper questions. Are these things separated? Or are they connected? Some people believe that these experiences are purely physical. Others believe there's something more. Something tied to perception, to consciousness, to layers of reality we don't fully understand. Ideas that sound like science fiction, but keep showing up in the real world encounters. You see it in ancient texts. You hear it in modern reports. You see it in stories like The Matrix, where reality itself is questions. And maybe, just maybe, we've been looking at this all the wrong way. What if the key isn't out there, but in here? What if the human mind is capable of more than we've ever been taught? Tonight we're diving into a conversation that sits right along the intersection of it all. Time, consciousness, the paranormal, the unknown. We're joined by author William Camaren and creator of The Window Man, a story that explains what happens when the boundaries of reality begin to break down and a person is forced to confront what lies beyond them, and the possibilities that some of the things that we talk about on this show, Bigfoot, UFO, ghosts, aliens, high strangeness, might not be as separate as they seem. So tonight, please keep an open mind, because the deeper you go into this conversation, the more the question starts to raise to the surface. Are we really experiencing reality, or just a small portion of something much bigger? Hello, my paranormal peeps, and welcome back to the Deep Woods Paranormal podcast. My name is Matt Harvey. I am the founder and lead investigator with Deep Woods Paranormal. Tonight we have Will on with us. He is the author of Window Man, and he's going to be talking to us about, number one, himself, but a little bit about what he does and how he does it. It's going to be really interesting to hear him talk. It's definitely paranormal in nature. So without further ado, Will, kind of introduce yourself, if you would, please.
Oh, absolutely, Matt. I'm Will Camaren. I wrote the book Window Man. I have a lot of different things that I do. One, I'm a food critic, public speaker, and really the world's foremost authority on the Window Man state. So, I mean, that is because realistically, I'm the only one who does it.
So describe what a Window Man is, because a lot of people are probably going, okay, what's a Window Man? How does it have to do with the paranormal? So you'll have to kind of walk us all through it and teach us what it is.
Okay, the Window Man state could not be explained in just one moment. There were so many precursors that led up to it, and then there were so many things that came after it. But essentially, the Window Man is a state where my consciousness moves inside and I'm viewing the world as if I'm looking through a window, and I'm not in control of anything that's going on the outside. And this state is something that led to many, many incredible things. It was a process, and that process led me down a road that ultimately still hasn't ended.
Awesome. Well, can you kind of start from the beginning? What kind of got you going into this? What led into becoming the Window Man?
Sure. First off, before I say anything, and I generally like to start everything out in this way, to say that people need to have an open mind to understand that there are so many things that we don't understand, and that one of the highest forms of arrogance is to believe that something, because it doesn't fit inside the framework or the box that you live your life in, that it's not possible. And that's, that is just so completely wrong when we look at things and we say that in reality people only understand maybe 0.5% of all human knowledge. And when you think that that's all that we understand of all human knowledge, and then you say, well, there's been all this indoctrination, and how much of what you believe to be true is even true? So if that's the case, then it absolutely makes sense that, this could exist outside your realm of thinking.
Right.
So, yeah, and I will go ahead and start by saying I was never normal from the very beginning. From the time I was born, it was obvious there were things going on. I potty trained myself when I was 18 months. At 2 years old, I could hold a conversation with you at the level of today's 12-year-old. By 3 years old, I began to see things before they would happen, and I could tell people is the extrasensory perception, ESP, and my family started noticing it, and there's a lot of fun stories going on with that. I don't know if I want to go into all those stories, but there were so many times where I literally told them something that was happening, and they would go find out that that's exactly what had happened.
No, it's crazy.
Yeah.
So you kind of see the future, if you will.
Mm-hmm. And I lost a connection to that as I went on, but things grew, and that became a small footnote,
Right.
But it was clearly a precursor to things that were to come. I guess the best thing to do is just start you off with where the first actual thing happened. And that was my first experience with the window man state. I was 9 years old. I was in school, third grade, and I'm sitting in the front of the class, and I have to take a piss like nobody's business. Yeah, I mean, really, really bad. And I was a real timid kid at the time.
Right.
A far cry from the guy you see today, but very, very timid, picked on by almost everybody. And I just didn't want to raise my hand because, I knew that if I raised my hand, all these kids are going to laugh at me and, make fun of me because I need to use the restroom. Turns out that backfired in a really, really bad way. So about 10 minutes later, I'm sitting there and I just got piss streaming down my leg.
Oh, geez.
And the teacher, she's the first one to see it. And rather than try to find some way to disguise it, she just exposes it to the entire class. And so now everybody's laughing, and everybody's in, full on uproarious laughter. She's laughing, which, like I said, is absolutely ridiculous.
Yeah.
And I go to the gym, shower up, change into my gym clothes, come back and finish out the day. I feel like now I probably should have just went home, but I finished out the day. And the kids were just picking on me left and right. I mean, I'm getting punched. I'm getting kicked. All these things are happening. They're calling me every name a third grader could think of. And I go home that night, and I just sit in the bed. I just sit on the bed, and I'm crying my eyes out because I just don't know what to do. I'm thinking this is so ridiculous. I don't know how to live this life like this. I don't want to do this anymore. And, it's devastating to a kid. There was just so much trauma that had happened from that. And all of a sudden, something very strange happened. It wasn't that I had cried myself to sleep. It was that, I was fully awake and all of a sudden just out. Like a light, just completely.
Wow.
And I'm out and I wake up in the morning and it feels as if only a split second has passed.
Wow.
And I'm like fully rested though, which was really crazy.
Yeah.
And I open my eyes up and I'm not seeing the world the same as I was seeing it before. I'm looking out like through the window and I'm in control of absolutely nothing. Zero. And so I hear my mom's voice from the other room and she calls out to see if I'm, getting ready for school. And all of a sudden I just start moving really fast, and I just start putting all of these clothes on super quick. And I don't understand that, I don't know what's going on. This 9-year-old kid just like kind of watching his life go. He's just like, what is this? And I go out into the living room and I see my mother standing there, and I go up and I just embrace her. I give her this huge hug and just lose it. I mean, full on like breakdown. And she doesn't understand it. I didn't understand it as a 9-year-old kid. And I drive to the school with her, and I don't say anything like the entire trip. And when I get to the school, I get out of the car, I look at her and I say, "Don't worry, I'll be back," which is like the weirdest like thing to say. I mean, obviously, like, I'm coming back. If I'm a 9-year-old kid, it's like,
right.
You probably pick me up, So it was very strange. I go into the classroom, and there is this kid that I called my tormentor, and he's sitting. I call him that in the book. He's sitting at the back of the class, and he's just cracking up. He's just laughing at me hysterically, and I'm kind of viewing this like, I don't understand. Like, I don't feel anything. I feel like this whole thing is happening to somebody else in a different place, right? And my body just immediately starts moving towards him. And another kid had stepped in front, and he was another kid that had given me a problem. And I just pushed him to the ground, and I walk straight to his desk. I grab him by the back of the head, and I slam him face first into the desk. Now there's blood everywhere. I didn't break his nose, fortunately, but there was a tremendous amount of blood. So they take me off to the principal's office, and in the principal's office, the principal just starts going off on me. I mean, feels really comfortable doing this with a kid that is clearly timid and, not going to say anything. And he's 9 years old. And, what the hell, he's just going off. And I paused for a minute and I didn't say a word. And then all of a sudden this voice rises out of me, and it has like this authority to it. And it was really crazy as a 9-year-old kid to like witness this happening. I just looked at him and I said, "Hey, what kind of man allows a child to be kicked, punched, beaten, and tortured on the daily basis, and then has a problem when this child decides to defend himself?" And he steps back and takes like this like really deep breath, and his face goes almost ghost white. And he looks at me and he goes, "What would you have me do?" I'm telling you, this is a day that the principal of a school looked at a 9-year-old kid and said, "What would you have me do?" And I told him this. I said, "This goes away." I said, "If the parents squeal, then you tell them all about their kid. And you tell them that they can be dragged into the very same lawsuit that I'll drag this whole school into." And I never heard a word about it again, ever. Yeah. And I mean, you can imagine these things coming from like a 9-year-old kid that's really timid. And so that day I go home and I'm processing all of this stuff. And I realized it took me many years to figure out what had happened that day.
Hey.
Sorry. That's okay.
Cat's squealing in the background. I don't know what's going on back in there.
But what had happened that day was that was the first time that my 48-year-old consciousness had stepped in for my 9-year-old self. And my mother, to my 48-year-old self, had been dead for well over a year. So this is why the scene was so strange in the morning, was because this was the first time that I was seeing my mother that I hadn't seen in quite some time, and yet now I'm seeing her in her 30-year-old body.
Wow.
And yeah, so this was, and mind you, this, I know while this sounds really fantastical, this sounds crazy on so many levels, this was literally just the beginning. There were so many things that happened that went so much further.
So do you think you had like an out-of-body experience, or maybe you like traveled back to this?
Oh, absolutely.
Yeah,
absolutely. That's exactly what this is. And I think I should say this right now. This is a good time to say this, because this is going to probably, blow some heads off here. People are going to go, "Oh my God, what did he just say?" But, when you hear Elon Musk say that there's only a 1 in a billion chance or so that we're not living in a simulation. He's giving it to you without giving it to you. And I'm telling you flat out, I'm not speculating in any way, shape, or form. We 100% do live in a simulation. And I have seen many versions of the simulation. And what I am doing is simply exploiting a glitch.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I wondered about that recently. There's been some strange things that's happened to me. I'm like, what the? I'm like, wait a minute. Did I just go into a different universe, or did I cross into a different dimension, or what's going on here?
I'm just we are starting to see that more and more after the CERN stuff that was going on with the Hadron Collider and all this kind of stuff. We're starting to see a blending of some of these. And this is why you're starting to get these Mandela effects and things like that are happening. And they're really obvious when you look at it. You just go, oh, you mean to tell me there was never a cornucopia on the fruit of the loom? It was, we've all seen it. We know we're not stupid.
Right.
So, yeah, we're seeing a blending now.
Interesting. I've always wondered if we're just on some spaceship flying through space and, we're like in the Matrix and, but I think even the Bible says that we're in some kind of a
simulation. I can actually tell you exactly where it says that. In fact, if you look at it, he says that when I knit you together in your mother's womb, right? Mm-hmm. Now, what's really interesting about that is if you look in the Strong's Concordance, the word womb is Rekim, and Rekim translates directly to matrix. So that's really interesting. So what it's saying is when I knit you together in your mother's matrix, and then think about the fact that we call this place Mother Earth.
That's interesting. It's very interesting. All right. Well, keep going. Did you have some other stories you want to share with us?
Oh, there are so many.
A million, but yeah. This is really interesting.
Yeah, I'm happy to go any direction that you'd be looking to go into. I know that you talk about cryptids. You talk about different things. As we move forward, I would like to also discuss the second book that will be out shortly, which is called Window Man 2: The Darker Force. And the Darker Force is explaining something about, obviously, the darker force, and the darker force is something that needs explaining, and it's something that I actually experienced when I had a trip that I stepped onto the world stage for the first time with the gifting, rather than just working on my own life. Once I worked on something other than my own life, that's where I found the darker force, and the darker force repressed everything. It wouldn't allow me to even move at times. Any of the giftings that I had that I could tell you about later, which became actually really phenomenal. They just spiraled it was like this snowball effect where they just became bigger and bigger and bigger. But I could use none of them. I could use nothing. And I thought that proximity mattered at the time, but it didn't. This was just someone that was able to rewrite code. And that's exactly what they're capable of doing. They were there when the code was written, and now they're capable of rewriting the code. And I'll tell you, usually I wait till the end to go into this one, but I'm fine with it. Let's just go into it. So what drew me back in at the end of Window Man was there was a very, very high profile murder. Okay.
Wow.
Yes, somebody was executed, let's say live on national television. Okay, so that was something that really bothered me. And I thought, well, if I have this gift, I'll step in and I'll see what I can do. And when I did, that's where I found that I was, that every gift that I had was suspended. And there was nothing that I could do. I mean, even the things I wanted to do in the natural, phone calls, all kinds of things just stopped. I mean, there was nothing I could do. This event was going to happen no matter what it was I did. So the only thing that I thought that I could do was use the gift that I have as an author. And I thought, if I go back and I write a book, and then I put the book out and it gets released before the event happens, then he'll know.
Yeah.
So I go back, I write the book, it releases one day before the event happens.
Right.
Later on, they said that it released 2 days after. It doesn't matter whether you believe that it released the day before or 2 days after. Window Man itself, the book that I wrote, other than this book I'm talking about, took 5 days for Amazon approval as a finished product.
Wow.
Okay. So now we're talking about like, you're going to write a book and then you're going to put it through and get Amazon approval. And all of these things are going to happen inside of 2 days. It's a 0% chance. It would never happen that way. Then the internet writes it off as AI slop. And they say it's just AI slop. It's not real. I got a digital copy later. And the digital copy that I got later had changed multiple things.
Wow.
And the reason they had changed multiple things was because they wanted to debunk it, disprove it, discredit it. And so one of the things that really pissed me off when I went through and looked at it was that they had said the paramedics showed up on the scene and they started applying pressure to the wound and they were putting IVs in and all these things, which all of us know never happened at this scene. Right. So that was infuriating. And just so that we're clear with the audience, because I'm not sitting here beating around the bush in any way, shape, or form. I am talking about Anastasia J. Casey, the person who wrote the book The Shooting of Charlie Kirk. All right, which actually was all over the internet for quite some time. People were talking about this book and who wrote this. And I'm answering that question right now. And I'm saying 100% I wrote that book.
Damn.
Mm-hmm.
Crazy. So do you consider yourself like a time traveler then?
100%. I travel through time, but it's not just time itself. It's like I travel through different versions of the code. So I see multiple different versions of the code. I was just talking with somebody the other day, and we were talking about this and saying that since I have seen multiple different versions of reality, I understand that this reality is the most veiled, bar none. I mean, I'm talking about you drew the short straw. This is the worst version where everything is concealed. So it's like we are lied to from the time we're born. Everything, almost everything that you know to be true is 100% a lie, or 95 at least. Everything is a lie.
All right, so Bigfoot's real.
Bigfoot,
he's like, yep. Wait a minute.
Yeah, Bigfoot is real. Actually, there are a lot of cryptids. When you actually look at even the word talks about it. It talks about, leviathans, dragons, behemoths, unicorns. I mean, that kind of stuff is in the word. These things are there. Yeah. So it's like, I mean, even you look at Numbers 22, 23, it talks about unicorns. So, I mean, it's real. There are things out there that people are not told about. Dragons, for the longest time, dragons were in the dictionary, and it listed them as rare now.
Wow. Yeah, I was always told that dragons were actually, and from the descriptions of the knights and stuff like that, that actually were documented, that they were dinosaurs, and that people, the Triceratops is one of them, and crocodiles and all this other stuff. Not all of them breathe fire and whatever else, and dinosaurs actually live with us up to a certain point, and maybe still do, but we just don't see them as much as we should be seeing them. Let's put it that way.
Well, I'll tell you this, just to be clear, a large portion of that is that history is fabricated. So dinosaurs and dragons, different. So yes, and I know that a lot of people believe that because we have these, these bones and these things like that, these things, if we really delve deep into it, we find that there's not a lot of truth to some of that.
Really? That's
Mhm. And I will also tell you, this is just, I've seen so many things outside of this realm, places where actors are well known to play other actors. And I'm not just talking about in movies. I'm talking about like well known to play them. And here it's so veiled that this is something they hide rather than actually tell us the truth. And I can give you a great example of that. Okay.
Go for it. Yeah.
This one will blow your mind, but I'm telling you sometime, and a lot of people are going to have a struggle with it. And I know that. I don't care. I tell people the truth. So here's the thing. Take a picture of Brad Pitt and you put that picture next to Benicio del Toro. Let me tell you something. Benicio del Toro does not exist. Brad Pitt, this is the ethnic version of Brad Pitt, and he's used to play in all sorts of different films. And this is how they do it. He's not the only one either. It's rampant in Hollywood that there are a ton of actors that are playing other actors.
Crazy. Mm-hmm. Well, I've always heard about the masks. Mm-hmm. I've heard back in the 70s that they basically could make a mask of anybody and make them look like somebody else. I could look just like you, or you could look just like me, and you'd have no idea we were. I could go Scooby-Doo on you, and you'd be like,
absolutely. Mm-hmm. The prosthetics, the things that we've got today are so advanced. And then when you think about Hollywood and, how much more Hollywood has, these guys. And what, there was the lady that went into a meeting with, I believe it was Obama, and she went into the meeting and sat there the entire time as someone else, and he had zero idea because she was wearing a mask and she was showing exactly how good that the masks had become.
Oh, I've heard that. Yeah.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. It's crazy. Yeah, they're so good at this point. Now you can just people do this, and in other realities, it's just kind of a well-known fact that they do this.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. So let's go crazy here. What do you know about ghosts?
Okay. Yeah, I will tell you exactly what I know about ghosts. Okay. So first of all, ghosts are used in one way from the darker forces because they don't want you to find something out. And I'll explain what it is that they don't want you to find out. But the thing is they are used especially early in childhood. And specifically a lot of times at 9. And I don't know exactly why, except for like Nikola Tesla said, if you understood the power of 369, right? 9 is a really powerful age for them to impact people with things. And so what they do is they come at you early so that you're focused on what is that. They show you these ghosts, these things that these paranormal activities, so that you're always focused outward. When they do this to people with strong gifts, because they don't want you to find out exactly what your gift is. So the people that have the strongest gifts, they get a hold of them early and they get them focused outward, because if you're going, what is that? What is that? Oh, and this is how you spend your life. You're not focused inward. Right? If you focus inward, then you understand your power, right? If you understand frequency, you understand the 33 vertebrae, you understand Kundalini energy. Well, basically, the 33 vertebrae are your sacred ladder or your Jacob's ladder. And when you get to the top, there's that Atlas vertebrae. Some people call the at-last vertebrae. When you can reach that with the energy, with the frequency forced into there, you can push it into the pineal gland. What happens then is it decalcifies it, and it allows you to actually access the supernatural gifts that you have. So if they can keep you at a lower frequency, then you never experience that, and you never come into that thing that will allow you to transcend some of these things like the code.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Huh. All right. So what's your take on Bigfoot then? What are, these things out in the woods?
Bigfoot is definitely a cryptid that exists. It's it moves through the code. All right. It's one that does that. It moves through the code. Right. So this is why we have very few, pictures of it at all,
Right.
because it's in and out, and it can do that at the drop of a hat. It moves through the different codes. So that's the reason why it's very difficult to ever find, good footage of one. And, like I said, there's a ton of different ones, obviously Loch Ness Monster and things like that. But there's a super huge amount of things that exist here that people just have no idea really does exist. And they make fun of people because they believe it.
Yeah.
I mean, it's so funny. Some of the things that I know to be 100% true at this point. And I watch people with these looks of condescension on their face, just kind of like, yeah, and you're going, I know that to be 100% true. And
Right.
you're looking at me like I'm the idiot.
Right.
It's incredible sometimes to think about, like how veiled the reality is and how smart people think they are when they, the first thing that you could do to have knowledge is to understand that you really don't have that much.
Right. It's always a learning process. Yeah, exactly.
Absolutely. Mm-hmm.
All right. Well, we're down to our last couple of minutes here. You want to tell us a little bit about the book real quick and maybe a tiny bit about a little teaser of the next book too. And then we'll have to have you back on for the next book too.
Yeah, I'd love to do that. Window Man, you can pick that up on Amazon. You can, go and check me out at Papa Will's Reviews. I do food reviews on TikTok. And there's a Window Man song. And you can actually go check that song out at Camstar Records. So, yeah, check it out. This is the Window Man book right here. So,
awesome.
And actually when you go to look for the song looks just like this.
Nice.
Yeah. So you can check.
Guys, the links will be down below to that stuff. He's going to send me the links and stuff. We'll make sure it's down below, whether you're listening audio-wise or you're watching video-wise, either our Rumble or YouTube channel. We'll have the links down below for you guys, so you guys can click down below and go check out his stuff. Yeah. Anyways, keep going. We have a few more minutes, so if you want to tell us about your other book as well.
The Window Man 2 book delves into, obviously the darker force and, fallen ones. And I'll go ahead and just tell you right now that when we're talking about the darker force, what we're really talking about are the fallen ones. And the whole purpose of the code and everything is it's a prison for your mind. It keeps you from ever understanding who you are so that you can never step into that. And if you stepped into that and you understood who you were, if one person were to fully awaken, they could rewrite the entire code. Not even the 200 fallen could stand against one fully awakened. And I'm telling you that from personal knowledge and experience of what I have seen. I am not the one that's fully awakened, but I will tell you this, that when you see a movie like The Matrix, they're telling you something. That every time you see a movie, even with my situation, the butterfly effect, they're showing you these things in advance. Why is that? Because the satanic religion tells them that they have to put everything in your face.
Right.
They put everything in your face so that they can say, in the end, we told you so.
Right.
That's the whole thing. It's them being able to say, we're free of any obligation because we told you already.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
suck you into something.
And the book, goes into all of that. It breaks down all of that on every level. It tells you, exactly how everything fits in, even with the word. Like when you really look at it, it's like, what was Jesus doing? Right? Jesus was rewriting code. That was it. He comes down, he says, no, that's not water. That's wine. I can do that. He says, oh, wait, that water is, I would fall through? No, I won't, because it's solid. Right. And people may say to me things like, okay, well, then tell me about where it ever talks about time travel. And I would like I've said this before, but I would say, did you get a different copy? Because the truth of the matter is like when you look at John in Revelation, he was looking at the future. Now, some people may say, oh, it was a vision. Maybe. Okay. But when Jesus was transfigured and then present with both Moses and Elijah, now we have to say he is essentially moving through time. He's moving through the code. And just about that time in scripture, he says, you will do greater things than I have done because I'm going to be with the Father. So basically, he's saying all of this stuff. So like none of what I'm saying is mutually exclusive with the word of God.
Right.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we have a couple more minutes. I have about 5 more minutes. Can you tell me where aliens kind of play into all this?
Yeah. Here's my my thoughts on that 100%. Okay. There are things that come from the water. Okay.
Yep.
There's places that we have never seen down there. Okay. There is outer space which exists outside the wall, the ice wall. Okay. Mm-hmm. There's outer space out there. Now, nothing goes through the firmament. That is all of that is horse crap. And I'm being honest with you. What you do see are things that they want you to see. Okay. They want you to see these things because in the end, there's going to be a great deception. Okay. And it talks about it in the word. I mean, again, we're just following the script here, right? It talks about the great deception. The great deception is simply this. They are going to come, the fallen ones are going to come in the form of aliens. And then they're going to tell you that they created you. And when they tell you that they created you, then people are going to fall away from God. That is the great deception. Right. So this is where aliens play in. And also, I will tell you, I didn't get to this part earlier about paranormal experiences, but when we look at, them saying, early in life, we're going to make them look outside. There's that. But then there are other things. There are leftover pieces of code. So leftover pieces of code sometimes present themselves as paranormal experiences.
Huh.
Yeah.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So this is another place where you're getting paranormal experiences. They're leftover pieces of code that are, presenting ghost-like anomalies and things.
Strange. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So where do you go when you die?
When you die, here's the truth. When you die, it says to be absent of the body is to be present with the Lord. But for how long? What we do is we do this and we circle right back until the end. Okay. You keep coming right back until the end. And then in the end, once somebody is able to step into that place where they can rewrite the code, where they can change everything. And it only takes one. This is why they're so scared, because it just takes one of us to actually reach that point. And when we reach that point, they're done. It's like that little meme where you see these guys and these fat cats are playing on a board, like a Monopoly board, on the back of all these people. And it says when the people stand up, game's over.
Will is the author of Window Man. Excuse me, my brain's not working. I'm still trying to get over this cold. Thank you so much. It's been amazing talking to you. And definitely, like I said, when your second book comes out, let me know and we'll have you back on. And again, thank you so much for coming on with us today. We'll have his link and everything down below, guys. So if you guys want to, again, find his book, find his music, it'll be linked down below in the description. And again, Will, thank you again so much. I really appreciate you coming on today. And we'll catch you guys on the next one.